My name is Lee-Ann, also known as Miss Lee. I'm 26 and I'm a sports journalist for a living. I think I officially started in 2015. I always love to tell the story because I almost joined law, but at some point, it was 2012, I had an accident that kept me down for like 3 months. So I played sport, but obviously knew I wasn't going to be like this elite athlete. But then I was like, I know I want to work in this space. So 3 months in hospital, you're kind of not doing anything, just thinking. And that's when it dawned on me. I'm like, I'm good at writing, and there's something called journalism. So I needed to find a way of putting sports and journalism together. And as the time went on, I found myself a mentor. Lance Witten, at the time, he was a news anchor at ETV, and he's the one that got me into the space, got me to understand how it works, and like they say, the rest is history. I guess if you like write sports writing, if you can put words together, basically, you've got your foot in the door. And it sounds wrong, but sometimes it's who you know, unfortunately, and sometimes it's just how it goes. I remember one company that I ended up working for, it came through someone I knew, and he's like, just come try it out and see if you like it, and then that's how it ended up going. But I'll always tell, even women upcoming, I always say the important thing is find a mentor. So whatever idea you have, try and find someone in that industry who is then, going to shed some light. And, sometimes you can think, oh, I'm interested in TV, and then you get there, you're like, okay, maybe it's not really my thing. It's been interesting. I always try to use that word, interesting. There's been challenges where I always say, if I wasn't passionate about it, I would have quit a long time ago. Because for me, it's like, what's the point? And each and every day there'll be something pushing me to question myself. It sucks when you start questioning your abilities. Do I really know how to write, or it's all been in my head? That whole thing just starts coming. Like, I remember first time I attended a match for work, and one of the industry greats looked at me and he's like, what are you doing here? I'm like, I'm here to work. And like, it starts asking me my age, but in a way that was like, I was made to feel like I don't belong there. Years later, he now respects me, talks to me, tries to find out my opinion. And I'm like, but if it was a man, it was like immediately know your stuff. There's no doubt about that. So it's always these things that, you have to battle all the time. And, so then I'd come back home on my own and like, why? Why am I putting myself through this? And, that's why I started entertaining the thought of going back to law. I was like, maybe I should, and I just work in my office and that's it, go home, done, But I was like, what? I'll endure it because I'm passionate about this. Someone else's opinion is, it's not going to deter me. I'm just going to, one day I'll make it where I want to be, and I'll look back and be like, what, thanks guys. You're the ones that pushed me, I was actually sexually harassed by one of the guys in the industry, and he made me, feel uncomfortable in that space. And all I wanted was to get an interview and all of that. But for him, it's like, for me to give you this interview, I expect X, Y, Z. And for me, it was like, am I going to have to keep, other challenges I can get, my work being questioned and all of that. But when that became personal for me, I was like, what, this is it. And I started debating, should I go and report this? Also, and then I was like, okay, first of all, I'm still up and coming. I'm a woman, who's going to believe me? In the Cape Town space, our media space is small, it's really, and if this picks up wind, then it becomes a thing, and then I end up losing a job, and all that. I ended up debating to myself, but I was like, what, I'm not going to let him win, because it's sort of like reminding me of an incident that happened to me on 2 occasions, and I didn't let those men win. And I was like, you know what? Whatever that's his thing, I'll keep this to myself because I have a purpose. You know, I'm passionate about this and I will make it despite what has happened, you know. And in as much as I should have reported it, but I also had to protect my job. And it's very unfortunate, but you know, I've also got a family to help and all of that. So I had to, you know, debate with a lot of these things because eventually if I quit, you know, this person has won. And they're just going to carry it on and do it to the next person and the next person, you know, and then until we all say, you know, when is it enough? Yes, I think it's that thing of, you know, you always see these athletes on TV, you know, and you're like, and then you think, you're like, wow, I'm actually 1-on-1 with this person that I used to see, you know, kicking a ball or whatever. I mean, I remember when I attended because I also cover mixed martial arts, you know, I'd see these guys on TV and I'm like, and for me, I'm like, those guys are intimidating, how I'm approached. And I got there, it was like so amazing. I was like, oh wow, you're actually not as intimidating. It's just something that happens in the cage and then that's it. But, you know, interviewing them, most down-to-earth athletes, you know, it was, when you look at it, you're like, okay, you're not too, you know, far off mankind. You're still here, you know. So for me, it's like, yeah, we go have these exciting events. But for me, it's just being able to sit down with, you know, athletes and actually, you know, there's a story to tell here, you know. Same as me, we all have different journeys. I think that's the most amazing thing that I've gotten to enjoy, being able to tell these stories and also tell people, you know, who've got a dream, who aspire for something that, you know, it's not impossible. You can do it. You know, if you can think it, you can do it. But in this space, I would definitely have to say Melissa Reddy. She's done so well, you know. She cemented herself here in South Africa, and then she goes to the UK, where it's like, you know, it's huge, and you're like, and then she's made it. She's, you know, she gets on TV shows, she's there on radio, she's writing, you know, stories for the biggest club, and I mean, she's a woman of color, and she's a woman, and she's a foreigner, you know, that type of everything, things that would be against her, you know, she's made it her own. And when I look at her, I'm like, you know what? If she can make it, you know, I can also make it. You know, other young women can also make it. You know, she's made us aspire to, you know, something great, where she's made it look easy. She's made it look effortless. It's like, you know what? It's doable. I mean, sometimes I'd fear, I'm like, okay, what if I get to Europe and then everything is against me? I'll be like quick to go back home, you know, but she's got on with it, basically. Definitely Philippians 4 verse 13. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. That, I mean, it's even on my WhatsApp status. You know, even when the going gets tough, you know, when I think of that, you know, even sometimes, you know, as, you know, being Christian, sometimes I can lose faith because everything just seems against me all at once. But, you know, when I then look at that verse, I'm like, you know what? I can find my strength in God. And then I just carry on, you know, no matter, because, you know, I always say, no 2 days are the same, especially in our industry. There's always something. In one day, you've experienced so many things at once. You look at it. But when you now sit down and I think of this verse and I'm like, you know, all the things that I've gone through, you know, in my personal life, my workspace, it's only been, you know, through God's strength. And I'll continue to use that verse wherever I go, whatever it is I do. That's pretty much what helps me.